Yes. Can you hear me? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? So many changes have happened in the studio in the last week or two. Welcome, everybody. Wednesday, January 4th, 2023. I'm going to mess that up quite a few times over the next month. I'm sure when I'm writing dates down and things like that, I'll screw it up. Yes. So, hello, Small Brown Fox, DJ Succotash, Thaddeus, Sam. I'm sorry, I'm in a little late here. It'd be great to get a. Am I too loud? Because I'm looking at the meters here. I might have to go over and make a quick change, or I should be able to do it through software. And housekeeping wise, we're pushing camera and flask to next week because one of the crew is not feeling well. So not something I expected, just came in about 45 minutes to an hour ago. So I made changes. Tell me how the levels are. A touch hot. That was my feeling. I appreciate that. I should be able to change this in software control. I also want to switch off, which may totally... Well, let me know if it's fine, because right now I'm using Ethernet, but I'm also sharing Wi-Fi, which I forgot to turn off. Again, chaos here in the studio. Is it better? Is it better audio-wise? I turned it down a little, a few dB in ATEM software control. Let me go down just a little bit more. How about that? How's that, kids? Brandon? Yeah, everybody's all right. So it's not an alarming thing. It was just we couldn't have all three of the crew here. Less of those clipping peaks. Yeah, so I've been using the Wireless Go with the HS2 headset for some videos I've been shooting. I put that into the Mix Pre 6.2 using their VXLR adapter. So it's basically taking this thing right here. Actually, I could just show you, right? Whoa, wrong one. I'm really screwed up here. Like I said, is this camera on? Yes. Okay, so you should be able to see this relatively well. That's the Wireless Go, and that's what gets plugged in this case, to the Mix Pre. And then in order to plug it into the XLR, which is where I have noise assist, I just use this VXLR Plus adapter. So it's basically going from a mini or 1/8 inch to XLR, and then that's how the receiver works. And then transmitter, you know, it's not rocket science. The HS2 gets plugged into that. So that's how it's working. But the problem is that the output levels of that setup are different than going into the NTG5, which is getting plugged into there. So that's why it was a little hot. You probably didn't need all that explanation. I just need to go in and adjust the output that's coming out of the Mix Pre into the camera. I could go do that right now, but then I'd be off camera for a minute. So there you go. How's everybody doing? Let me know how your holidays were and what you're up to. I don't know if we're going to go for a full hour today. I have my in-laws here, and they are going home tomorrow. They've been here for about a month, so I'm going to go and do the farewell dinner. So, yeah. So, DJ Succotash. And in the future, if you can put an at the C47 in your question, that'd be great. That's not a comment on you, but just it helps me sort of identify when I'm looking at comments and reactions who has questions. The Rode video mic, the Rode NTG5 is a mic I like very much. You know, I would love to own a Sheps mic, but that's not going to happen. And I find that the quality of the mic going into something like the Mix Pre 6.2 with good preamps and especially noise assist, it's working well. I mean, you can hear it. I think it suits my voice pretty well. It doesn't mean that an MKH416 or some other mic wouldn't be as good, if not better, but it's doing the job, and I like it. And for the price, I think it's a very nice microphone. So Pat says, holidays went well, fiddling around with a lot of little things, need to make new demo reel. Yeah, I hear you. I did one of those whenever that was in September. Hold on. I'm having a little drink because it's the new year. So I don't know, I don't do the dry January thing, but is that when it is? I think it's in January. So I'll have a little nip for dinner, Brandon. It's going to be Greek. So I'm going to do sort of like a baked chicken and shrimp with tomatoes, obviously olive oil, olives. I might put feta into the baked dish as well, but I'll definitely make a traditional Greek salad, which will just be tomatoes, red peppers, cucumbers, no lettuce probably tonight, and just a good Greek dressing, oregano, of course. What else am I making? I've already made homemade hummus. I do it normally without tahini because it's not that I don't like tahini, but I prefer hummus without it. When you make it yourself, you just take the hummus and you take the the skins off of them as much as possible. That makes a smoother hummus. And then olive oil, salt, fresh lemon, squeezed lemon, and then I put harissa in there, not the paste, but the dry seasoning. And then there you go. Christmas Eve was a big party, and we did. I did. It was Italian, so appetizers were just sort of like an antipasto, and we did a shrimp cocktail and a couple of other little things. The mains were basically two things. We did a cioppino. I did a huge cioppino, and then we also did a braciole, a beef braciole. So it's pounded thin meat, and then there's different versions, but this one prosciutto, and then there's a lot of seasonings and cheese, and then you rolled it up. I use toothpicks. You can tie them if you want, and then that goes into like a big sauce. Big red sauce. So we served that with rigatoni, and then we had the cioppino with like sliced bread. So it was good. And then and that's my mother-in-law. She's asking me about pita because I need pita bread for tonight. She's doing this store run. And then for Christmas Day, much smaller, just immediate family, and that was standing rib roast. So standing rib roast and just sort of more beef Wellington. Yeah, nice. And there you go. What else did other people cook? Oh, Brandon, I'm sorry you weren't feeling well. There was a lot of stuff happening. Most of ours happened sort of pre and post Thanksgiving here in the States. So there you go. Yeah. Smoked brisket on the Weber, but braised in a mostly Korean style. Dang. Duck for Christmas Eve. That is one of my favorites. Duck is my favorite bird to eat, 100%. So I had some really great, I had a really great duck curry at probably my favorite Thai restaurant that's nearish to here. It's not right around the corner. With my friend. That was really good. And then a Thai hot pot. So we did like a Thai hot pot, which was a combination of beef and pork. And then we also did the duck curry, which was really good. They had lychee in there. They had little small tomatoes, and then they also had grapes. And it had some heat. So it was definitely at least one or two Thai chilies in there. Not knock your socks off, uncomfortable. Hold on, mother-in-law. Oh, God. Hold on. I have to tell her I'm doing a live stream. I don't know. Had a duck pho down in Houston one time that was one of the best things I've ever eaten. I've had really good ramen in Texas too. What else we got? Yeah, right. You'll think up a name. Never had a good duck experience. Well, you can start with Peking or Peking duck. To me, there's nothing wrong with that. And then if you see a duck confit, just duck cooked in fat, that can't be bad. It never is, at least whenever I've had it. And that can be a good way to start eating duck because you kind of get a long cook on them. And some people don't, like that texture of something that's almost like a chicken breast, but in a duck, I don't think. I want to hear about that broccoli casserole, David. And yeah, just a good confit duck will win you over, like DJ Succotash says. I mean, it's just all goodness. You can get great duck in Chinese restaurants in some of the dishes too. Crispy skin. It's not bad with hoisin sauce and all that good stuff. Yeah, if you like Thai food, Pat, it's in Sherwood. So, it's kind of, it's not really in between, but that's a good one. Wilder, what's happening? What? To the other stream? What other stream? I had to change the one for today that was Cameron Flask. I had to get pushed a week because somebody could not be there. Only 60-ish minutes. Yeah, and it's about 40, 45 for me. So that kind of works. So maybe we'll do the duck if you like Thai food. If you don't like Thai food and a little bit of heat, then we shouldn't do it. But that combination of the lychee, the tomatoes, the grapes, all about the same size in that with the duck, yum. It was good. First time I've had it exactly like that. I've had duck curries before, but that one was good. Good. So you're in, Pat. So we could do that. What else we got? What else are we talking about? New cameras, right? Panasonic. Kind of odd that they've got these two cameras and one's $300 more. Clearly, you'd get the one that's $300 more if you're going to buy into the system. I'm not quite getting it. Seems to me that they should have just made one and just had the features and be done with it. Not quite sure why they do that, but I'll look into it a little bit more. Nice that they're upgrading their AF system, and there's definitely been improvements in Fujiland, but I think that's kind of the next step for me for Fuji. I love the color science. I, for the most part, love the usability. Feature sets in the cameras are now really strong with the XH2S and the XH2. But if they could just in the video side of things get that AF to just sing, then that would be great. Because I'm still loving Super 35 APS-C. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it's becoming in that sub $2,000 US market, it's becoming pretty competitive in the full frame space. And even in the crop sensor space. I mean, you look at that FX30 and that's a lot of camera for the money. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. Matt Allard made a pretty good comment in his sort of overview of the new cameras from Panasonic, which, I think is pretty valid. If you're thinking about those cameras and I don't know, that's, the mount is now not as much of an issue. What was the comment he made? I had it in my head for a second and then I just lost it. But he did have a good comment about the camera systems, besides the fact that the $300 would be kind of a no-brainer. I'd have to pull it up and take a look. But, the comment he made was there's no real upper market for Panasonic. Let me just give you 1 second. I'm going to turn my phone off now. Yeah. So the comment was that they don't really have anything in sort of the digital cinema camera market. I apologize for this. This is what happens. I love the in-laws, but it just it's never ending. So, you know, is Panasonic going to come into that space? Is Panasonic going to do anything in the sort of digital cinema camera market? And also what's going to happen this coming year with companies like Canon? Because you take a look at the market right now, and I think that Sony, out of all the companies, when you look at sort of that sub $2,000 up to $10,000 range, FX30 all the way up to FX9, I can never figure out the numbering convention. It makes no sense. They're probably the most well sort of thought out, with Canon second, because you know they have C70 and they have C300 Mark III and C500 Mark II. So there's a lot of cameras from both of those companies, but Sony seems to be the one that has it's not always a good thing, but they have sort of the most options from that sub $2,000 up to $10,000 range. So, you know, we're never, well, I'm not going to say we're never, but are we ever going to see an EVA 2? Are we ever going to see Panasonic go into that market? Or are they strictly in the mirrorless game now? And that's it. They're going to do micro four thirds. They're going to do full frame. And that's kind of their deal. You know, Fuji does APS-C/Super 35 and they do medium format. So the question is, are we going to see anything else from Panasonic in that space? And I'm not sure. Not a lot of rumblings there. And I still think that there's room in the market, especially if any manufacturer that's coming out with a mirrorless or digital cinema camera in the future really ups their game in terms of AF, then I think there's still room in these spaces. Yeah, but Darren, I think, you know, the point is that if you think about entry level and you think about what Sony's doing, they can get people in at an FX30, which is just a phenomenal amount of value in a camera system for what it costs, and then move up from there. So I don't know. I think that this, you know, S5 series is, you know, our replacement for the full frame cameras that Panasonic's offering. And now I'd like to see sort of what the next steps are going to be from Canon in the digital cinema market. You know, C70's been out for a long time. C300 Mark III's been out for a long time. There's definitely a place for them to come in and sort of step in to some areas. I think that their mirrorless camera line is pretty well worked out, and there'll be people who favor Sony, they'll favor Canon. I think that's okay. And then again, I'm just interested to see where Fuji goes with stuff. It seems like this current product line, save for firmware updates, is really sort of set for now. So the question is, did they go somewhere else? And then what about Blackmagic Design, this new sensor from Atomos? You know, we're not that far off. It's early January, and NAB is around the corner. It's really 3 months away. And I'm planning for my workshops, and that show should be a good show this year. So, I don't know, Pat, what are the advantages of the S1H over the S5 2X or 2. So, I don't know. But it should be great image. And, of course, we're getting seemingly much improved AF system. Yeah, Matt, I agree. You know, Fuji could come into the market with something in that sort of $5,000 to $7,500 price range. I think it'd be really interesting, but I do think they have to really nail AF next time. And yeah, Colin, I don't know if they'll announce another EVA. It just doesn't seem like they're in it in that part of the market. S2H. So you think there will be an S2H? And what do you think, Phil, are the limitations of the S5 II and the S5 IIX? That's what I'd be interested to hear. I love my XH2S. It would be great to have that with built-in ND and solid AF. Agreed, Matt. I think that built-in ND is hopefully something we'll see in smaller cameras in the future. There's some real estate issues when it comes to that, which is, I think, why Sony hasn't introduced it into any of their, you know, traditional FX3, FX30 mirrorless cameras. And you need space even for that electronic ND system to work well, and to sort of, because you can pull ND with those cameras. You can literally go from outside to inside, inside to outside, and it will pull ND automatically for you for exposure adjustments. So there you go. Got it, Phil. Thanks for that. Does that include the X? Because then I would assume if there's no time code on either of the two new cameras, that we would see an update to the higher end, more expensive line. And price point wise, that should make sense. So I don't know. Good. And then solid AF, yes, agreed. I mean, I think we'll see how far they can push it with firmware and if they are going to address any of the AF and improve that at all. But it may just be future cameras that we see that next jump with Fuji in terms of AF system. And then Blackmagic, not only do I really hope that they update and they improve upon the form factor or lack thereof of their cameras, but they also are hopefully spending some time and effort on the AF thing. And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. I just think that the reality is, unless you're in the higher tier of the cinema market and you're looking at stuff that's being used for episodic and for feature-length films, and that you're going to have a crew that can support what's necessary when you don't have a strong AF system, which is, of course, pulling focus and everything related to that. Then if you're making a camera that is an owner-operator camera that's going to be anything less than $10,000 US, I think AF is going to be critical in the long term. Darren says, any new lens coming out this year you excited for or hoping comes out this year? Nothing specific at the moment. I'm sure I'll be surprised with something. And time code is important. Obviously, with some of these new things from Tentacle and from Deity and things, we can do time code with some of these cameras that we couldn't do in the past. The EVA 2 could be the first. Are there rumors about an EVA 2? I don't know. I would be, I mean, you know, and at this point, should they call it the EVA 2? Does the brand have enough weight, meaning that particular model have enough weight to do a version 2? Or is it time for them to just say, here's a new camera? Okay, we've been doing all of this crap in the bottom end, you know, sub $5,000. We've been doing full frame. It's now time to give you something that's $7,500 US, and it's going to have all of those features. But we're going to call it something else. I'd like to hear what people think about that. So I'm running 2 Z cams with Deity and Zoom F6. It is so much easier. Are you saying as your entire setup? And easier than what? Be interested. Obviously, you're doing double system. Yeah. Okay. I'm just looking at these comments here. I'd again like to hear. No, I think you're okay. Pat, you sound like you're in solid ground with what you got. One could argue that the EVA 2 was the BS1H box camera, but big limitations with that camera. No ND, huge. Wait, EVA 2 or EVA 1? Is there? I'm confusing myself now, or maybe you're confusing me. I don't think there is an EVA 2. Is there? Am I missing something? Because I'm reading that comment. We're still on EVA 1. And yeah, I don't think we have an EVA 2. Am I getting confused here? EVA 1. Okay, good. Yeah, and we got a big price drop also on the C200. So that's coming in sans lens for about $3,500 US. Still a camera I own, still a good camera. I would argue its biggest downside is, which is a pretty big downside, is the sensor. I mean, it's got beautiful color and looks really nice, but to me, compared to newer cameras, it's just too soft. You know, you can always make an image softer, but can you make it sharper? You can, but it usually looks like shit. EVA 2 is only rumored. Yep, that's what I thought. No EVA 2 yet. Got it. Okay, so I just that comment. Good. All right. What else do we got? What else are we talking about? Anything else that's been announced or interesting that you've seen? I'm sure as we sort of lead up to NAB, we'll hear some more stuff. We're still running our old C300 Mark II at work. They're still, yep, they still are. I mean, look, there's not a bad image out of that camera. It's just, again, if you compare it to what we're dealing with nowadays, it's just not as sharp. It doesn't have as much, you know, in there. Good color science, for sure. Heck, I would argue that my original C100s, 4K sensor resolving at HD, those are still great little cameras. Up until about last year, when I was doing multicam, I would set up a C200 and I'd have one or two of those C100s, and they were getting the job done. It's just a lot easier with these smaller cameras and things. And I've been finding that the XH2S matches very well. Slightly different, but it matches very well with the X-T4 and the X-T3. And those two cameras shared the same sensor. So different sensor in the XH2S, but they really, I think partially because of those film simulations, they work hard. This is just my guess, to keep the color science close on those. That's just my take on it. Yeah, well, did a lot of those videos, DJ Succotash, on the Canon digital cinema line, which I still love, but I think if you're looking at cameras right now in the market, there's a lot of choices, and part of it's going to be driven by your internal ecosystem, and a lot of that is going to be driven by what lenses you have, and then it's just sort of feature sets. You know, what do you need? What are the styles of shooting? What's the form factor you're looking for? You know, if I had a young filmmaker come to me and say, you know, I need to buy into a camera to just do things, the first question is, are you just doing video, or are you doing video and stills? If they're just doing video, then there's a number of cameras on the market that sit in that under $2,000 price range. But then you have to start thinking about the lenses and where you're going with things. So, you know, while a Fuji system might be great for somebody like me, and I like the way that ecosystem is and works, save for, again, a stronger AF system in video, I might say to that person, for that, for that person that's just doing video, motion-based stuff, that the FX30 may be a great camera for you to start with. So, and that's not necessarily what I would have said a year ago. There's some great mirrorless cameras from Canon in that price range, Fuji, obviously now with these new Panasonics. So, it's not cut and dry anymore, and it used to be. So, I don't know. Okay, yeah, stabilization. We'll have to see how that works out on the new S5 series. DJI will release a new gimbal. I don't know. We'll have to see what that's all about. And we're surely going to be seeing more drones. We're surely going to be seeing more gimbals. We're surely going to be seeing more other types of camera movement devices in 2023. For me, the big one's going to be, what's going to happen as we evolve not just the cameras, but sort of virtual production and lighting related to that. And I think we're going to see some pretty interesting things. I think we sort of settled on the fact that there's kind of two paths with RGB lighting right now. There's sort of RGB with two whites, and then there's this spectrum with no individual white LEDs, but you've got RGB like ACL. So, amber, well, I guess that's kind of a white, but is it amber? Yeah. Cyan and lime. Yeah. So, we'll see where that all plays out, but it's also just being able to push into those pixel-based lights and what you can do with those. And, Aputure on the small end, they've got that little 1-foot tube. The Amarin line has longer tubes, but that 1-foot tube with its, individual addressable, essentially pixels or light pixels. And they're not the only company doing that, but I think we're going to start to see more of that. We're going to see more of that in panels, and that's what's going to allow us to feed essentially information that replicates a lighting environment into our light fixtures, which should create even more believable sort of lighting. But I think it's going to be a big learning process for people in terms of that. And what I mean by that is, most DPs, DOPs, cinematographers are used to settling on a singular color temperature as sort of the basis to match an environment. And then there may be mixed lighting inside of there as well, but at the same time, we're not used to this idea that you're shooting a scene at let's say a circus, okay, or an outdoor fair with lots of different colored lights and things like that. And what you do is you feed to your light fixtures essentially footage that is pixel mapped, which has those colors in it as well. So you're keying your talent, and maybe you can map sort of like an overall color temperature, but there's other things happening inside of there which are replicating the environment, which is, of course, bouncing off of skin and skin tone and doing that kind of stuff. So there you go. Jordan, what's happening? What are you doing here? I'm glad you came by. Love your stuff. It's been a while. And Jordan can answer your questions about the S5 II and the other camera and all that stuff. And I'm guessing, based on the let's see ... that Jordan has a camera in hand and is going to go check that out, because Phil's saying, does the S5 to HDMI lag get reduced when you disable audio output on the HDMI like the S1H? Interesting. Okay. Good. I remember shooting weddings on the Panasonic. Okay, now we're going down the road. I remember a lot of things. We're starting on a 3/4-inch U-matic here, and it's hard to believe how far we've come. Yeah, I mean, look how far we've come from there, and beta and digi-beta, but also from just DV, late 90s going into, I mean, that was a pretty long run with mini DV especially. So that was interesting, and we had to deal with all that 1440 by 1080 crap and non-square pixels, and all kinds of fun was going on with HDV for sure. All right, so I think we're on standby with Jordan, who's checking some stuff out. And so again, lighting I think is going to be a big thing this year, and I think we're gonna see some evolution there, and I think that's going to be from more than one company. I think competitively, with some of the announcements that companies have made and that they're working on, we're going to see a lot of stuff related to what your lights can do. And I'm not talking about cop cars and emergency vehicles and fireworks and things. I'm talking about lighting scenes that can work in both virtual production, green screen, and just even being in practical environments where what's happening can be augmented or, enhanced with some of the things that I think we'll see with lighting. So that'll be interesting. Yeah. So there you go. Pat still has VHS editing decks. Museum time, potentially. So that's lighting. Audio for me, I think, we'll talk more about this next week on Camera and Flask, but for me, audio-wise, some of the big things that I'd like to see, obviously I'd like the patent to go away so we could be more competitive with, the recording options that are available with some of these devices. I'd like to see 32-bit float just sort of become standard, and that would be both on individual devices and also in camera. So that would be something I'd like to see. And I'd like to see some of the things that are happening in practical audio recording, like with the sound devices, with the noise assist. I'd like to have that kind of, integrated into more devices from companies like Zoom. Obviously, it would be great if, sound devices came out with some even smaller units. And I think that, the sort of holy grail is something that, especially with so many people using mirrorless and small format cameras, is a little box that has 2 XLR inputs, that has 32-bit float, that has some sort of noise assist and some sort of mix assist style where it's auto ducking between the 2 inputs there. That would be really great. And I don't think anybody's licked that one yet completely. So, and of course it has to be able to record but have a clean output into camera. So we'll see where that goes. Killing audio does definitely minimize lag. Okay, so that's something that seems to be carrying from other cameras. And what else? Oh, maybe it did have the, I don't know, I'm confused now. So I thought it carried. And thanks, Jordan, for coming by. I appreciate it. So that's audio. We've talked about cameras. And again, I think this year could be a year for, more digital cinema cameras. The mirrorless camera space is pretty crowded right now. And so audio, lighting, that. Grip equipment wise, I don't know. We'll just sort of have to see where that goes. With all of these small companies like Small Rig making all of these small solutions for rigging, and it's so inexpensive now to get little switchers and cheese plates and adapters, and it's pretty fantastic, because if you have an idea of how you want to rig something in your space, there's pretty inexpensive solutions out there. They're not all great. It's still, to me, I've got these new little ball heads that I'm using with the Aputure the P60Cs, their little panels, which are, I mean, the output on those things is the they're really Amarin. They're ridiculous for the price. But the mounting system is kind of garbage. And so I kind of rigged a new system with a ball mount so it's more adjustable, so on and so forth. The only real downside is it doesn't have a receptor for an umbrella, which would be nice. But it's, it's still not what a Manfrotto ball mount is, like a 492 or a 492 LCD. One has 3/8 16 female thread underneath. The other one has a cold or hot shoe attachment. And those are expensive. They're $60-$70 for that little ball mount. But I've got to tell you that they're rock stars. And then you buy another one that's nice for $16, but it's still not the same. But it's $16. So sometimes you got to do that. Innovative's been doing some stuff on their carts. LAOWA maybe. And there you go. Oh, I see. There it is. All right. We're getting emojis and all that fun stuff. Good. So what else? We've had a little chat about cameras, lighting, audio, a little bit about grip, camera movement stuff we're going to have to see. And, where's the next innovation on gimbal systems? I don't know. I think there are some innovations that can still be had in camera movement. And I think that the promise of some companies aren't quite realized. Like Edelkrone makes beautiful looking products, and some of them work very, very well. They're great industrial designers. It's just the carry through on them sometimes. So I'd like to see sort of what's happening there. I'd like to see, just what happens in the portable slider market. I really like the iFootage Shark Nano. I think that it's a great little product. Besides time-lapse, though, it's kind of a one-trick pony. A very good one-trick pony, which is, you can very, very quickly, without using an app, set an A and B point, and it has a built-in pan head and slides, and I think for what it can do, it does it very well. But I'd like to see evolution in there. So there you go. What I want to see is I still want to see a 4K Ninja Star, which is just a little box that sits there. I'm not a big fan of external recorders, but if you want to go to a different codec, just with a small LCD though this time. So that, I think that would still be something that would be interesting. We'll see. I mean, that's what's so great about the Fuji's, built-in ProRes, all that kind of stuff. We're starting to see more and more of that. But there you go. Yeah, the Aputure MT Pro is pretty nice for a little 1-foot tube. And go to fluid head in the sub 1K price point. Are you looking for one? I don't know. Just for the head? I mean, I'm partial to Miller. I love Miller's stuff. I think Sockler makes some great stuff too. It's going to be a while until you can spend less than probably about $1,500 is like the low end US, but I'm going to say $2,500 to get a fluid head that's going to be a lifer, and that's going to have the range that you need for different types of cameras and for how you rig them out. That's just my feeling. So, yeah. Yeah, is CES, has it started? I thought it officially started today, but maybe it officially starts tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see in the consumer market what's happening there. Oh, I got it, David. I'm reading through this. You mean the Sockler Flowtech. Yeah, those tripod legs are great. So is their little Sockler, like a little quick release leveling thing. That's kind of brilliant. So interesting to see that. I mean, maybe they have that patent really locked down, but we haven't seen a lot of knockoffs on that. And yeah, Flowtech stuff is fantastic. So Cartonis are nice. The Focus 8 is a little funny for me because if you can get that camera build that's in the sweet spot of that head, then it's great. But it's not as versatile, I think, as some of the more recent fluid heads, in the sense that you can go sort of low, small, lighter weight, and then you can, go up to a bigger rig. So I think that's really my issue. And I've used the Focus 8, and I think Cartoni, of course, makes great products, but I wouldn't go down that road. Yeah, YC Onion has got some interesting stuff in sort of that slider market. So I don't know if they're going to come out with anything new. iFootage could come out with a new Shark Nano and maybe allow you to have more than 2 points and some things like that. I don't know, because they've clearly worked out some of those expandable track things, but that's kind of not what that Nano is. It's just a all-in-one unit. With slide and pan, which I really like. I think it's a good system. But yeah, I'm just reading these comments here. All right, well, there you go. Anything else we got to go over? I'm looking forward to seeing the other gents next week at Cameron Flask. I'm looking at the same way. Plus, I'm small, so the big double riser ones make me look a total fool. The proprietary leveler rig they've got is amazing. Yeah, I mean, look, the stuff that Sockler was doing in terms of the Flowtech system and the leveling and everything, they definitely thought that out. There's some really great stuff. Miller has some great legs that are, where you can adjust it all from the same place, and it's pretty fast. It's just not as fast as Flowtech. But that leveling, just squeeze to level, is brilliant as long as you're not leveling a really heavy rig. Yeah, so next week, the three of us, Wednesday, January 11th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, we'll be chatting about some of the same stuff, but just getting everybody's take and just having a catch up on the new year. Speaking of catching up, some emails have come through, and there's that Greek dinner I've got to make for the in-laws and the family tonight. And I hope everybody's doing well. Let's be over all of the sickness and all the weirdness from 2022 and welcome the weirdness of 2023, but more creatively in terms of weirdness. And, I'm not I go to the gym on January 1st kind of person and stop doing it 3 weeks later. I just don't do it at all. But, I've got a standing desk and I move around a lot, and I'm hauling equipment and things. And I'm just going to keep going and keep creating things, and I hope you're going to do the same. And I'll see everybody next week. And again, thanks for coming. I'm going to go find that finish button here, and it's too many monitors. There it is. There it is. See everybody next week. Take care. Bye.